Hello, everyone. My name is Sabah Faruqi. It is so nice to meet you all. I am a consultant and I will be conducting your organization's board training for the day. So, you guys all might be wondering, what is the purpose of today? The first and most important is, of course, maintaining your 501 status to make sure you guys are staying tax exempt. The second would be making improvements to your organizations, things you can do better, things you're overlooking. And the last one is the knowledge about nonprofits, your organization, how it all works, and different avenues that you could take that you may have not known was allowed. So, what is on the agenda for today? We're going to talk a little bit about what is a nonprofit. Of course, you all know this, but I just want to go a little bit deeper or just slightly deeper into it, just to kind of refresh your memory. I also want to show you guys your documents, such as your Form 990 and annual report. I also want to talk a little bit about unrelated business income, political challenges, charitable gaming, employment, private insurance, and deductions. So, what is a nonprofit? The legal definition is that it is an entity that isn't permitted to engage in forms of private insurance. So, in the name, their nonprofits do not make profit. And that's why they're so different from private organizations. Private organizations are for profit. And there are different types of nonprofits. There is a corporation, trust, unincorporated association, limited liability company, and hybrids. Foundations classifications, you would need your IRS determination letter, and you guys would fall under a public charity because you guys are a foundation within the public school. So I wanted to show you guys your articles of incorporation, which of course is filed with your Secretary of State in order to create your organization. For those of you who have not ever seen articles of incorporation or haven't seen your specific one, this is just the front page. It's actually quite long, but of course I can't show you guys it all. That would take forever. But I do recommend that you guys take a look at it, just to familiarize yourself with it, as well as the other documents I'm going to show you. So there are your bylaws. This is what the front page look like. It's going to be your organization's rules and laws that you're going to abide by. Then there is your IRS determination letter. This confirms that you are indeed a tax exempt organization. And then your Form 990, it provides the IRS and the public about your transactions and governance, as well as your revenues, assets, and expenses. And then there is your annual report for the last year, of all the income you have earned from your organization. So, political challenges. This is important because it's definitely a gray area and a place that many people can mess up in. So, nonprofits are not allowed to participate in political campaigns for any candidate during election for public office. There's exceptions to the way that nonprofits can be in politics, and I'm going to talk about some of them. For example, the first one is lobbying. You can lobby in an executive branch and independent agencies, and you can accumulate up to 15% of your expenses towards lobbying. I do want to make a quick note that 15% is only a guideline and not a rule of law. It's a bit of a gray area, and it's just something to keep in mind. Then there's voting. Because your organization is a school, there could be a chance that the school or your organization holds voting in your building, and your organization's job would only be to educate the public and assist in electoral process. And this means staying unbiased, which is typically how you want to avoid, or the theme that you want to keep when considering politics. You want to make unbiased voter guides and unbiased voter registration. You want to encourage people to vote. You want to educate them on what they're voting on, but you cannot lean favorably one way or the other. This is simply not allowed. So, candidate or non candidate appearances. So, a candidate could be someone running for office this upcoming November, or a non candidate could be the mayor, for example, who's not running for election. They must be treated equally and in a nonpartisan atmosphere. Again, you have to keep the same unbiased atmosphere. You cannot lean one way or the other. Your job is only to inform the public about this person's policy and the other person's policy. You are not allowed to lean one way or the other under any circumstances. Let's say you have one candidate go on for 10 minutes promoting their campaign. You must give the other the other candidate the same time. It must be equal as well. You can't have one candidate speak to 100 people and the other candidate speak to 10 people. That is not equal. So it has to be 10 minutes to 100 people for both candidates, to make sure that they are equal and unbiased. You are not leaning favorably in any direction. You are only informing the public in an unbiased way. So, unrelated business income tax. How do you earn it, and how does it stay tax exempt? So, funds from regularly occurring activities that do not relate to your exempt purposes. This is how you make unrelated business income. So, an example of this would be each start of the fall semester, the foundation's volunteers sell snacks to college students on campus. You also want to make sure that it has a regular occurring activity. It happens every fall. And you also want to make sure that it doesn't relate to your organization's purpose. Because your organization's purpose is to help students, provide scholarships, you can't sell things like school supplies because it is that is your organization's purpose, or it falls under your purpose. So selling snacks could be a fun way to do that with avoiding complications. So there are some exceptions to unrelated business income tax, and of course, like I mentioned, your business can't be related to organization's purpose. And 85% of the work has to be done, or it can't be done by the volunteers. You have to make sure that your employees are doing at least half of the work or something of that nature. They cannot be doing all the work. There's also the sales of donated items. Your organization cannot do that. The only exception is thrift stores that are nonprofits, but other organizations, they cannot do that. That is not allowed. Then there is the distributing of low-cost articles. You can't distribute incredibly cheap things. And sponsorships. So organizations can take sponsorships, but they just can't advertise the product or services of the sponsor. For example, if the CEO of Red Bull sponsored your organization, you can't advertise Red Bull or their services. And And the sponsor can't be given large amount of benefits. So again, for example, if the CEO of Red Bull sponsored your organization, you cannot give him a check for $50,000 or give him a free service for a year, things like that. So then there's charitable gaming, and you may be wondering, what is it? It is just a traditional game with wagers, winners, and prizes. Think of it like public entertainment. Think of games that you play at fairs. And an example of this typically is usually bingo, poker nights, raffles, and the requirements for them would be passing the UBI test. They are regular occurring businesses that isn't related to your foundation's purpose. So they do require a gaming license from your state, and they must be 100% tax-free. And when you're withholding tax, specifically with poker innings, they should be reported to the IRS with Form W-2G if they are over $5,000. I wanted to mention poker because since you are a college campus, this might be a popular game with the students that you are assisting. And the winner has to provide ID with their social security number. The copies B, C, and 2 of Form W-2G should be given to the winner before January 31st, the year after the year they win the prize. Copy A should be given to the IRS before February 28th or the 29th, depending on the year, of the year after the year the prize was given. So employment, there are a couple of different types of workers: statutory workers, regular employees, independent contractors, and volunteers. And these may be all types of employees that are going to be working in your organization. So statutory workers are employees or non-employees by statute. They, for example, president, vice president, secretary, who are being paid. The only type of employee or worker that wouldn't fit into this category would be directors. Independent contractors, you must report their pay. They don't have to withhold or pay federal taxes, or you don't have to withhold or pay taxes or pay federal taxes unless the contractor don't provide their social security number, or if the IRS is questioning the numbers given to them. For volunteers, you are allowed to be giving them they are allowed to be given non-cash items as awards or gifts. So private insurement, this is defined by a private person, an insider. An insider is someone who has a close relationship with the corporation, and this person has the ability to control actions of the organization, and the benefit is intentionally granted by them. So this typically happens in the form of compensation. It has to be excessive and unreasonable, and the manner in which amount is calculated. For example, an officer is using your organization's officer is using the nonprofit's money to pay $35,000 worth of personal items over the course of a couple months. This is someone taking advantage of the system and going against the purpose of being a nonprofit and being essentially turning or taking the principles of a for-profit company. So deductions. We're going to talk about the types of deductions, types of non-deductibles, how much can you deduct, values of goods and services. So the types of deductibles are money, property, and out-of-pocket unreimbursed expenses. Then there are types of non-deductibles, which are lottery, raffle, or bingo ticket. Going back to the poker night, I just wanted to touch on it a little bit again, or to remind you that it is would be a type of non-deductible, and they are services, time and services. They're also one's time and services. So how much can you deduct? The full amount, unless you receive unless you received a benefit. So if you do receive a benefit, you would subtract the amount contributed by the value or benefit you received. So for example, if you went to a gala for $100, but the market value of the gala is $40, you would be able to deduct $60 because the market value is 40. And the values of goods and services. As an organization, you are to provide a written disclosure statement if the payment is over $75. It will say that their contribution is limited, and it provides the estimate of fair market value. This should be given when the contribution is received. I also wanted to make note that your deductible is related to the actual services you are providing for your organization, and they are not personal living or family expenses. So looking ahead for this training seminar, I would suggest a new hire training seminar for every new employee, and a once a year training for all staff. Because this organization is quite a large one, I think it would be better for it to be in person, so that it can be a little bit clearer, and that if you have any questions, I could be right here to answer them. Sometimes we're not able to put all our information into our presentation, and it would be great to have people have questions in the moment and for me to be able to answer them instead of it taking a few days to reply to an email and getting back to you that way. I also wanted to provide an additional resource for you guys. I found that the IRS website, irs.gov/charities nonprofits /stay exempt. This little character is Legal Eagle, and he is going to be of great help. It can be a bit boring, I will say, but I did learn so much from it, and I think it can be a great resource, especially if you are just starting and you don't know too much about it, or you even want a refresher. So thank you so much for your time and your attention. If you have any questions, please let me know. That is all for today. Thank you.